揽投资，国内专业的互联网理财平台，收益超银行活期数倍，已为众多用户带来丰厚收益。揽投资理财新选择，
源于民族之心，兴于品质之巅，成于健康之路，有爱有缘有三元。
This is James Lentz.
I'm Dallas Baker, President of the Air and Waste Management Association.
I am Graciela Cicilniski.
I'm Chip Jacobs, and you're watching Whose Time?
9月3日，纪念抗战胜利70周年大阅兵在即，北京市环保局近日透露，北京将联合周边6省区市，共同启动重大活动空气质量保障方案，标准参照亚太经济合作组织及 APEC 期间的保障方案，确保阅兵期间的蓝天。2014年11月，APEC 领导人非正式会议在北京召开，12天的会期中，11天的空气质量为优良，仅1天轻度污染。这得益于6省区市建立了区域空气质量预报会商平台，而9月3日阅兵前后，这个平台还将重新启动。在短期的蓝天可以实现之后，长期蓝天则成为期待。在近期举行的中美空气净化研讨会上，与会专家强调，雾霾变蓝天不是时间问题，而是污染物减排量的问题。要使蓝天数从短期变长期，就需要经济、能源结构转型以及科学和技术的保障。在这方面，海外一些国家和地区过去几十年的空气污染治理经验可以作为借鉴。会议期间，京都议定书草拟参与者之一，哥伦比亚大学经济与数理统计学教授格雷西拉·齐切尔尼斯基，雾霾之城洛杉矶雾霾史作者齐普·亚格布斯，以及南加州空气管理局前局长金兰特斯、美国空气和废物管理协会主席达拉斯·贝克等环保专家接受了财新时间的专访，分享了他们在大气污染治理与空气净化的解决方案方面的观点和见解。
What's your impression on Chinese environment issues?
There are two issues about China's economy that make it very difficult. First, China depends on exports, and therefore the pollution produced in China is for consumption by other nations. So it's not for the consumption of the Chinese. And I think this is not well understood. So in reality, the Chinese individual is not very polluting, but the goods produced for export are very polluting. So that's one thing that has to be considered, that it is a case where the customers that purchase the Chinese exports are causing the pollution in China. That's what I wanted to say. So if China took a different trade policy then, and I think it's moving in that direction, then it will have an impact reducing pollution. Nevertheless, in the last 5 years, China's growth has been over 26%, yet the increase in CO2 emission has only been 6%. So there are definitely great improvements. And another improvement is the fact that China is now the biggest and the most important exporter of clean energy technology like solar and wind energy. It's the biggest exporter in the world. And that clean energy is very important because energy is the main source of CO2 emissions in the world. So China is making a technological contribution. The second point is that China is a very poor country. The GDP is very large because the nation is very large. It's 1.3 billion. It's like 4 times the United States. So the GDP is very large and is comparable to the US. But there are 500 million people that live in the countryside, very poor, and they're coming into the cities and they need jobs. And for them to get jobs, they need energy, you need electricity. So the Chinese government is in a difficult position because it has to provide electricity and power for the people that are migrating from the countryside, and it is therefore most important to adopt the technology of carbon negative power plants because China needs more energy to develop.
So you think the future of renewable energy in China is positive?
It depends on what the government does. The future can be positive. The problem is that there is no time. So if we had time, I know this could be resolved. But we need the next 15, 20 years to turn things around, or else there is no solution and we will have catastrophic climate change. So it's irreversible. So that's the problem. That's why I am very concerned.